Welcome back to the Unwracked podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Berry, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sir Kyle Wilkes. Kyle, how's the week going so far, man?
It's going, man. Another week in paradise. I feel still about 85%. I can't get rid of this little cold, so it's bothering me as I wake up or
You got to
my
drink
nose
the
gets
tea.
stuffy. What kind of tea is that?
This is one of the green tea flavors that I drink. This is just plain green tea. I think it's like the cure-all for everything. Antimicrobial, antiviral, helps your cholesterol a little bit.
I'll give it a whirl after this because I want to. I can't sleep as good, I'll be honest. And then I have a CPAP that I use when I get over 240, and I can't put the mask on because I get scared. I can't breathe.
Dude, so I tried one. I bought one for myself one time because when I was like in the 280s, I was convinced I needed it. Dude, it feels like you're drowning in air, right?
It could be scary, yeah. But honestly, when I have a clear nostrils, my sleep is like much better. Like the 4 hours I get is like, I feel good.
Yeah. For people that don't know, both Kyle and myself, we don't practice what we preach. You know, we definitely think, you need minimum 6 hours. It's ideal to get 7 to 8, but I think, between coaching and the other business stuff, we both probably get probably 4.5 on average on most good nights. On the breathing, do you ever use those breathe right strips?
I do. I like the ones that are the intake ones. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're actually like very firm. Like they have a metal. They're not like the Band-Aid looking one.
Yeah.
Those are actually helpful. If you use them.
So I just started using, I got some cheap brand called Yee off of, that's what it's called. I don't know if you can read that.
Kanye's brand, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to start with these and see. And they do definitely do a little something. I went on to Martin's page because I was going to get some Martian ones, but he doesn't have them for sale yet. So, or maybe he was out when I looked because I want to, obviously if there's a bodybuilder in the industry, I want to support them if they're selling a good product. So
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So today, guys, we're going to do a Q&A episode. We've got probably, I don't know, you probably got like 30 or 40 questions. I got a good 25 of them. And then we're going to get 2 physique critiques in at the end. So I'm going to start us off here. Kyle, what are your thoughts? Oh, this is from D Lemke 88. What are your thoughts on mixing long esters with short esters during a blast? Any problems with it?
So I think, which ties into a question I was also at about pitting frequency.
Yep.
I don't have an issue with it because no matter what I recommend, I always tell people to try to pin every day, ideally, or at the least every other day. So regardless if an ester is long or short, I'm keeping it as if it was a short ester just to kind of keep blood levels stable. So I've noticed sometimes I feel like people, when they combine, let's just say a test probe with, a longer acting cypionate, they like it better. They feel a little bit better. Again, anecdotally, does it matter if you're consistent with taking SIP or an F8, stuff like that? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll add is that, you pointed out we're doing it to keep blood levels stable, right? So the benefits are that you're always going to feel a certain way. Like you're never going to have the peaks and troughs, right? So, you do it the traditional way, like let's say a TRT doctor is prescribing you 200 mgs a test. You take your shot on Monday morning, you're really high on Tuesday, and then those levels come down by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So I feel like taking a consistency and mixing those esters, you're going to keep a very nice consistent level. And I find, dude, that you get, there's lower issues with like hematocrit, hemoglobin, and RBCs. Now, I'm not saying it's going to completely protect you from that because that's obviously dose dependent, but I do find like for myself with using just TRT doses now, those 3 values are always in range. Whereas maybe years ago, if I was doing like 250 milligrams a test once a week, like I was early on, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I would still see some poor lab values when I tested 10, 12 weeks later. How about you?
No, I think that is something that's evident with just the daily injections. I think labs always look a little bit better and cleaner. And then one thing I will also add that I thought of most of the time, these fast acting esters, the concentration is very low, right? So the milligrams, if you're looking to quote unquote blast, you're going to have to take too much of it. So you'll need a long ester, right? Unless you plan on injecting yourself 3 different times a day, something crazy,
Yeah. Well, only other thing I'll add is too, is like, if you take a shot, like if I'm going to be a little sore, I want to just be a little sore. Right. I don't want to be a lot sore. Meaning if you're just doing those, say shots 2 to 3 days a week and you're putting all that in your rear delt, your glutes, or God forbid your quads, that shit can really hurt. Whereas if you're doing those like at most 1 cc injections, okay, you're sore for a day or two, but you're still going to be able to train. You're still going to be able to sleep at night. So I think that's another benefit. What do you got for questions?
I have a lot. I'm just going to ask some basic ones because I feel like I recognize some of these and we don't answer them. This person, just.joseph underscore, asks, can I use Elevate cream of rice and whey to replace a chicken meal or two? Absolutely. Right. You can use cream of rice and whey to replace whole food meals if you're still getting quality food. I would just recommend making sure you cook the cream of rice. Don't just put the powder, with the whey powder and drink it. But yeah, I mean, you don't have a problem with that, do you?
No, as long as you're using my Elevate code, Berry. I have zero problems with that. And I also got to point out, if you buy 5 bags, you're going to get 10% off your order, free shipping, and then you can use my code and you'll get an additional 10% off. So it's basically like you're getting 5 bags for the cost of 4 and free shipping. So do you have a cream of rice sponsor?
Nope, I don't.
Oh,
I can't tell you the last time I used cream of rice, I'll be honest. And the reason for it is because I'm fat and love food, and cream of rice just doesn't make me full.
Do you ever do the, and this isn't me. If I make food, I'm doing it as simple and as quick as possible. And luckily I've got someone that does my meals for me. But back in the day when you're only given 40 grams of cream of rice, you cook it, microwave it, mix it like 100 times, add a little more water, fluff it up. Yeah, microwave. And you do it. So the next thing you know, you got this like overflowing bowl full of fluff. And you're like, now it's the same amount of calories, but for some reason it just gives you a feeling of fullness, right?
Absolutely. And then the only thing I always hated, if you don't have a big enough bowl and you are multitasking, like as I often do,
Yeah.
you put it in the microwave, you put it on, that final time, you're like, oh, just a little bit more. And then you walk away and now it's everywhere. And like, to me, I'm very meticulous. So if a little bit comes out, I'm just like, I don't know how much that was.
Yep.
I'm redoing it.
Yep.
You know?
I don't know about you, dude. Actually, I would just take that, the microwave tray out and just lick it right up and just be like, all right, I got my 100% of calories, because again, I told you I'm lazy. I don't spend a lot of time making food. All right. So this is from one of my clients, Brothers Broadleaf. Thoughts on high dose SLU. That we're talking about SLU PP332. Have you ran it high yourself?
Not as of yet. I did not be a
Okay.
guinea pig. I don't think I really notice much when I just take it 250 micrograms 3 times a day. I'll be honest. Like, so I'll have some people that when I first put it in, they're like, oh, I really feel different. And I'm just like, do you? Do you really? Because even the studies show you need a crazy amount apparently for it to actually be beneficial. But I
Yeah.
know you had mentioned, I think you started to experiment with it, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I pushed it as high as 100 milligrams a day for about a month, and then, so full disclosure, I was starting to experience not, and I can't say it's from the SLU because it came out of the blue, but I was starting to have heart palpitations, and I was very tachycardic. Now, a lot of things happened during that time period. I also had COVID, or I got COVID, and then I was doing a lot of traveling, so I was definitely picking up some illnesses and stuff. I think I'm better now. I'm doing better, but I did pull it for a little while, and I'm back on it again now. But you're right about the doses. Like that 750 micrograms, is it doing anything? Is it doing? Is it a 0.5% difference maker versus a 5% difference maker? Because when we talk about all these little things like using yohimbine or using injectable L-carnitine, like I tell people, like, yeah, it's like a 2 to 3% difference maker, maybe,
Right.
but in some cases you do all these little different percent different makers, they add up to a substantial amount. So um, I, I actually put a purchase in for a kilogram of SLU powder. So that has arrived, and
Okay.
I'm going to figure out how to capsule it and have it measured appropriately so I don't accidentally take, 400 milligrams in one dose. So I'll have an update on that down the road.
Awesome. Um, Next question here is from underscore caffeined. Sorry. Is HRV a useful variable to track, or is it overrated?
Ah, man. So I go back and forth, but honestly, I think it's overrated because when I get up in the morning and I start moving around, I already know if I didn't have good sleep, like I feel like people rely on like devices and things a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have that stuff in the background, but I'm not going to let a computer tell me how I feel, I guess. So how about you?
So, I mean, HRV, just because I didn't explain it, right? It's heart rate variability. So that's measuring the variation in time between each heartbeat. I think it's something that it's independent first and foremost, right? And basically just the long and short of it, high HRV generally means your body is adapting well to stress, whereas low HRV is more your body is under stress, not recovering optimally. Now, the reality is, if you do have a device like an Aura Ring or a Whoop Band, there's tons of different devices. What I look for more so is the trend over time, right? So if you're mentioning, hey, you got a really shitty night's sleep, we might see a low HRV that day. Does that mean, oh, I have to not go to the gym today? No. But if we see a decline and we're just like, yeah, this person's mentioned they have been sleeping pretty shitty, their body's beat up, maybe they're sick, and now we're seeing a decrease over a 7-day span. Now I'll pay more attention to it and I'll say, okay, man, like let's pull back a little bit. But otherwise, if 7 of 8 days are great and you have one day that's significantly lower, it's not a big deal, you know?
Yeah, that's good. I think what you said, that makes a little more sense to me about the cumulative over time. You know, what is it telling me collectively over a week, 2 weeks, a month? That I think that is a good. And what do you use? Do you use a Whoop? Do you use Aura Ring?
I have the Aura Ring I use. The reason I use it, I have the Apple Watch, but I don't like things on my wrist because then I also like wear a watch if I go out or something. And then I always had the issue when I'm working out. If I'm using wrist straps, it gets in the way, where I kept always hitting that emergency damn button,
Yeah.
you know, and then my wrist is vibrating mid-set
Yeah.
or something crazy.
That's actually true. That's cool. Yeah, I got one of these cheap knockoffs. It's like a MasFit or something, and it does do all that. But I deactivated the HRV and the emergency and all that crap.
Have you ever tried the HRV? Have you ever tried the Aura Ring?
I bought them when they first came out, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and then honestly, I just don't like wearing things on my hands. So like I don't mind the wrist, but I don't like things on my fingers. So I sold it on eBay like 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this one's from Max Vakorka. What compound or compounds have notoriously given you or client issues?
So I'm not sure what they mean by issues like injection sites or lab work sucks, but thinking in that mindset, I think DHB usually is pretty shitty injections. Most of the time, people complain. I've had people get like Primo Ace from underground places.
Yeah.
That is crippling. Let's just say I know a birdie that's used it and it didn't end so well. And then from a lab work standpoint, I think, again, when you're abusing orals, abusing things like Tren longer than you should, we start to see an impact on, kidney functioning, liver enzymes, things like that. So, you have to be really mindful of those things. But, yeah, I always think issues to me, ejection sites, like it's probably bothersome. That's not going to be a contributing factor to success. What do you think?
I'll take it a little different directions. EQ for some people, I do find that it makes them a little loony if they're prone to it, I guess. They're a little bit more short-tempered. They're finding that and you could say the same thing about trenbolone at certain doses, but they find they're getting into fights with people for no reason. They're chasing the guy down that cut him off in traffic and trying to pull him out of the car to pistol whip him or something. That shit happens in Florida every day down here. But yeah, I'm thinking more issues like that, or at least like sometimes with like people taking EQ, they get very emotional and depressed, and you kind of like actually see it in their check-ins. Like the information isn't as forthcoming. It's not as the blast isn't as positive, I guess, in their point of view. There's a lot of negative Nancy stuff going on.
Yeah.
But other compounds, I think, yeah, like you mentioned, the PIP and the yeah. Actually, I'll say to counter that, do you use any products with MCT oil?
So I have some suppliers that prefer using that.
Yeah.
I personally wasn't a fan of it, and I have some
Really?
people that use it and they notice they have problems versus the traditional grapeseed carrier oil, stuff like that. What do you think?
I absolutely love the MCT. I haven't had even now, of course, keep in mind that the injection sizes are way smaller than they used to be for me. But like, honestly, if I don't even feel it, I don't even feel it with MCT oil. Whereas if I try a grapeseed or a cottonseed oil product, I know something's there, So, and that's why I asked you, because it kind of goes both different ways. Either you love it or you hate it.
And also, like I said, I think you don't want to mix. I always suggest to people they do not mix both of them in the same syringe,
Yep.
because a lot of people do that sometimes. They're like, hey, I got the Primo from this guy because I know it's real, and I'm taking Equipoise from this one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, did you cross-reference to make sure the carrier is the same? Because if you didn't, that's going to be problematic for sure.
That's a good point, because I don't think anyone thinks about that, especially when people are kind of piecemealing their, oh, I get Primo for $100 from this guy, and I get my testosterone for $30, and people are trying to make deals, right? And try to, not saying they're trying to cheap out, but it's like, instead of just saying, okay, I'll pay $1,000 for this cycle. Well, if I do it piecemeal, I can pay $800 and save $200. You end up crossing oils a little bit. So that's a really good point to bring up. Don't mix those together.
And I think a lot of people, I don't know how many of your clients, but I get people often that say, hey, like sometimes my sites hurt. And I'm like, okay, like, do they always hurt? And sometimes people are like, well, kind of. And I'm like, nope, well, that's a lot of inflammation, right? Or we'll see lab work and shit just looks crazy. I'm like, hey, did you train yesterday? No, coach, I took 3 days off. You sure? Something looks weird, man. Like shit is off the charts.
Yeah.
So I think, again, if you're someone that has, or you're more inclined to get post-injection pain and a site swelling, or there's like a nodule underneath and you feel it, those are problems, right? I'd say, hey, your body's not absorbing them very well. Like move away from what you're using, or start to isolate things to like your one compound by itself, another compound by itself, stuff like that.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is right, because it could just be one of those compounds out of the 3 you're injecting in the same syringe. So divide them up, put in different sites. If you notice patterns, maybe you need to get this product from a different supplier. Maybe you need to try a different carrier oil. That's a really good point. So
yeah. Next question, right? This one is from Jesse_SBK. Is it possible to be a high-level competitor while working full-time outside the fitness space?
Is it possible to be a high-level fitness competitor and have a career in another field?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, in today's world, it doesn't seem like it, right? But it's like, I feel like back in the day, and I know it's going to seem like old and antiquated, but like my understanding was that like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's his partner there? What's his name? The short guy. He won a Mr. Olympia. Anyway, Franco Colombo. Those guys were like doing bricklaying and construction jobs, Now, were they doing it in the off season for 4 hours a day and then going to the beach and going to the gym? Or were they doing it 8 hours a day during their contest prep? I don't know, But yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of professionals out there. I don't know if they're at the top level. My experience is top level guys and girls, guys especially, tend to not work.
Yeah. I think, so I would agree. I think, I don't want to say it's impossible, right? Because it's been possible in the past. I think in our contemporary era, with what people see with social media, you're right. Most of the high level people sit on their thumb all day long and don't do much. So to me, I'm always telling people like, listen, that they should beat you. You have a career, you have a life outside. But I wouldn't let that discourage you or put that in the back of your mind as to you have a limitation. I do think you need to be more selective with perhaps how realistic making progress is over the course of a year. Like, let's just say you have a really high stressful job, like you said, manual labor, where you're constantly traveling, where you can't follow a structured meal plan. You're not someone that should be nailing a bunch of shows. Like pick one time of the year where you're like, hey, this is probably the best time for my schedule from a work standpoint. I have to prep so I can be ready for this specific time. I don't want to just have it bleed into the whole year. I think you just have to be a little bit more calculated with your choices there. But otherwise, I think, ultimately, I wouldn't say it's like a limitation. It's, again, evident that many people now don't have jobs at the top, but I don't think that's for any other reason other than the sake. If I said to you, Andrew, you love bodybuilding, you're a great competitor, you can make 25, 30,000 sitting at home, or you can continue working your job for 15,000. I think you're going to probably choose the first option.
Yeah.
You could be a full-time bodybuilder. I think for all other aspects that I preach for people, a lot of times people come to me for, crafting the Greek god physique. I always tell people at the end of the day, how's the rest of your life going? Like, are you financially well off? How's your relationships? Like, are you continuing to level up in other aspects? Because at some point, you're going to put the pen down to this bodybuilding thing, right? Whether you're 35, 45, God bless if you're 45 still doing it. But you're going to want to do something else. Have something to show for it. So for a lot of people, it makes dieting easier when they're not. For me, as I told you a couple of times, when I used to leave at 5 in the morning, get home at 11 at night, I couldn't cheat on my diet. I didn't even think about it. I had so much
Yeah.
shit I was doing.
Yep.
Now, prep is a little harder for me because the kitchen's right here. I do a couple check-ins. Let's go check the kitchen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing too, and I tell both coaches and bodybuilders that are trying to, take this thing to the top level. There's no 401k, there's no retirement plan, right? So it's incumbent on you to either be a very good saver or have multiple income streams coming in so that you can support yourself. And on that note also, because I know you've probably had this too, where you've got some clients that are maybe high level amateurs and they find a way where they can quit their job, like, or put their job on hold for like a month leading into the show. And it's like, okay, so how are we going to account for that, all that extra activity you were doing that now you're not doing? You're going to have to do more cardio, and then they're like, oh, bro, I'm already dying. And then when they're not dying, they're sitting there thinking about how miserable they are. So it's like, like you said, when you're out of the house at 5, you're back in at 11 every day. Your day is so planned and scheduled that it's like, it doesn't even cross you. It's just process. What's the next thing I have to do to be successful in this thing?
Yeah, I think I find it to be more fulfilling, more impressive when you have a life outside of bodybuilding and you have a kick-ass physique. To me, I don't know. That just shows you're badass.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
All right. This is another one from Max Vakorka. What are your biggest coaching pet peeves? An example, poor communication from an athlete. Left it there.
So there's a couple pet peeves. One, communication thing is key, right? Being transparent with if I'm asking you to do something, are you doing it or are you not doing it? That way we can come to a collective decision on what the resolution is. So that's frustrating sometimes because at the end of the day, we have a common goal, right? Or we should have a common goal, whether we're trying to burn fat, build muscle, if we have a show. I want you to succeed. And if I don't know what you're actually doing, that's a fucking problem, right? Why are we working against each other?
Yeah.
I think another pet peeve is sometimes when people come to me, because again, I have a lot of younger generation that I love, they're focused on gear and drugs. They think there's like a magic formula. And I'm just like, hey, the true magic drug is just being consistent as fuck. If you can be consistent, you don't gotta be perfect. Just be consistent. You're going to have a lot of success. And whether you take 1,000 milligrams of test or 2,000, doesn't make you better. For those of you who didn't see the last podcast, right? Trying to plug our last podcast. My first cycle was a hefty one. I didn't look as good as I did this last time. And I took maybe an eighth of the amount. So that the answer isn't more, right? So that's a pet peeve, I think. And most people, you outgrow that thought process generally.
Yeah.
But those are the first two that come to mind. What am I missing here? I'm sure there's a ton.
So I think a big one in today's world is people that get into the competition lifestyle for the wrong reasons. And what I mean is this: there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a bodybuilder and living the bodybuilding lifestyle, Monday through Friday. And if you like to go out on the weekends and you want to be able to have 2 free meals, maybe a couple drinks at the bar, that's great. But be honest with your coach about that, and that not that you want to be going to nationals and being a top level competitor, because to me, like, being a bodybuilder is like a real bodybuilder is something sacred. Like it's just in your DNA that someone writes a plan for you. It's being followed A to Z. Like, there's no deviating from it. There's no cheating. You're not trying to take the easy way out. You're not trying to go slow on your own cardio. You're not trying to skip out of the gym and not pose. Like, all those different facets are being covered, and you do it because you really like to do it. You're not doing it because it's a chore. You're not doing it because it's an obligation to your sponsor that's giving you money. So that's a pet peeve for me because, and I think in this Instagram age, and I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon, but like back in the day, like, I try to express this to people, there was only like a few of us out there. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally, you go to your gym and you might be the only person that's ever done a bodybuilding show. And now everyone goes to, gyms, and every brother and sister has done, a couple competitions, but they're cheating. They're taking easy ways out. They're focusing more on, I would say, like, the mental anguish side of it. Whereas like dude, that's where real bodybuilders thrive. Like they like it when it gets harder. They want to kind of feel elite, like they're doing something that the rest of the population can't do. So my pet peeve is like, there's absolutely nothing wrong. I don't judge people for not wanting to get on stage. Like you can do steroids, you can eat clean, you can live the bodybuilding lifestyle 90%, but don't lie to yourself and say you want to compete if it's not truly in your DNA.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are important pet peeves. There's more, but
yeah, I mean, we could go on. I mean, shit. If you look at our DMs together or text messages, like I'm sure we've got 100 we could pull out, but then our clients would know who we're talking about. So
I just think like pet peeves to me, again, they're not like bothersome where I'm just like, hey, I don't want to work with you. It's more of like, man, why do we have this mindset and how do I change it? Because it's not just one person that has a certain thought process, right? It's very common. We see trends and stuff like that, you know, the science-based community, that kind of stuff that we see that's popular and that's not popular. So yeah, anyway, next question from, it's I'm Ran Cardiri. Probably butchered that, my bad. Food versus gear versus training. Yes. How do you rank them? If you rank them.
Food versus gear versus training.
Yeah.
Okay. So I look at it this way. They're all important facets of what we do, right? Are they 33% each? No, because you also got to fit in rest and recovery somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You also got to fit in lifestyle to be able to afford and manage a bodybuilding regimen. So I think they're all like components of it, but in ranking those three, well, I'll put it this way. Before I knew a thing about nutrition, right? When I was 14, 15, 16, you know, I was training really, really hard and I made progress to the point where people would like notice. They're like, yo, you're buff or you're jacked or, you know, that kid lives in the gym, that kind of thing. Right. Yeah. And that was with eating, you know, I don't know, maybe sometimes 3 meals a day. Maybe the next day I'd eat 5 meals a day. Maybe on Tuesday night I'd eat a box of ice cream just because I felt like eating a box. There was no rhyme or reason to it. So I'm going to rank training probably number 1. I'm going to rank nutrition number 2 because once that phase got in, it, you know, came into my acumen. Okay, now I'm eating 300 grams of protein a day. I'm supporting this muscle protein breakdown that I'm doing. I'm filling my body with adequate carbs or at the right time around my training, post-workout, etc. And then the gear was obviously just the next level to get more out of those other 2 variables. So I think, I mean, but then again, you could look at someone like Boston Lloyd who put on a shit ton of steroids, and then he's like, oh, you don't need to train hard. Just take more gear. And he obviously made progress too. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if you want to do it as safe as possible and be built for the long term, I would rank training, nutrition, and then gear. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you took my answer here. But I think train your ass off. I think that's like the first prerequisite. Obviously, if you're a genetic anomaly, you don't have to train as hard. You get great results, but arguably if you train better, you probably get even more results. After the training, right, you're inducing a state of stimulus to where you need to focus on recovery and being able to enhance that nutrient absorption in that window you've created. So like, I feel like you need food, right? I've never seen anyone tell me they eat 1 meal a day, train their butt off, and take a bunch of gear and they look decent. They usually look horrible, right? So I think that's...
I know a few black guys.
Do you?
Yeah. Dude, there was this guy. Do you remember Javon Curse?
Yeah, the DN. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but he like looked like if he changed his training up a little bit and he could probably been like a pretty good super heavyweight bodybuilder or classic guy, right?
Yeah.
So we had a guy like that at my gym, and this guy was already 286, and he played semi-pro football. And he's like, Andrew, I hear you're the guy to talk to for nutrition. What do I need to do? I want to get to be 305 at least. Huh? And I'm like, well, what do you eat? And he's like, I have coffee for breakfast. I do half a 6-inch Subway sandwich and a bag of chips for lunch. And then I eat whatever my girl makes at night. You know, usually it's like a chicken and rice or chicken and pasta type thing. So I'm like, all right, you're getting maybe at most 2,000 calories a day. So all I did was add a breakfast. I'm like, have 4 eggs in the morning, a cup of oatmeal, you know, an apple or a banana, and then get a protein shake after training. The guy comes back 2 weeks later and he's like, dude, I'm 306. And he looked like it. Huh? So my point is that like, results are different for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do know some people that can get big with just doing nothing, but the training, he trained this guy. First time he walked into a gym to start training, I watched him. 100-pound dumbbells go up easy on the press. He goes to 140s. Those go up like butter. He goes to 160s. those go up like 8 to 10 times, and he had room to spare. He had reps to spare. So I'm like, do you want to spot, dude? I'll spot you on those 185s over there. Doesn't even need help getting them up. Just sits back. He pumps out 10 and just like drops them like it was butter. And I'm like, dude, that's ridiculous. Never been to a gym to train like that before.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Your question.
Yep, it's on me. All right, this is from Dr. Dimsdale. How many sets of quads per week have your clients overall generally responded best to? So we're talking leg training.
So this is where it's tough, and I hate giving
Yeah.
answers, but like usually I'll have someone train twice a week. I find to be helpful from a frequency standpoint, from a recovery standpoint, in terms of like overall sets for the week, no less than 12 for a body part, probably for sure. And again, by set in my eyes, you're pushing damn near close to failure, like a true close to failure, not robotically stopping at 10 because you're supposed to do 10. As far as the reason I split it up, where I find that to be more practical, is because at some point, even as you advance more and you recruit more fibers during a session, you need fewer sets, but you can only do so much, right? If you just go in and hammer Rich Piana's like crazy arm day, right? At some point, you're not getting a better pump. The muscle not firing. It's dead.
It's dead at
So
that
like,
point.
instead of doing 100 sets, just do 10 and then do 10 tomorrow, etc. Right? Again, would I do it that way? No. But what I'm saying is that, there's a certain point of no return to where you're not getting any boost for all the effort you're putting out.
Yeah. So, okay, so just let me recap. So you like to do legs twice a week typically. Would you say both leg days are going to be quad focus, or are you doing like more of a quad focus one day, more a ham focus on another?
I'll do it two ways. I'll do one where it's either quad focused with the other being hand focused, where you're still touching a little bit of quads.
Yep.
Or if they're in a phase where I really care about strength and performance, one will be more of a power-based day and one more of a volume-based day.
Gotcha. Okay. So to break it down more, you're talking rep ranges, explosive technique versus hard squeeze, taking sets a little past failure.
Yeah.
Using using intensity techniques, that kind of thing. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So some myofibrillar work and then some sarcoplasmic growth. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, to me, it differs for everybody, right? Because there's a very basic, okay, I know that most people aren't going to grow from 2 hard quad sets a week, but I know that most people, as you're pointing out, are not going to grow from 100 hard quad sets per week. So there's somewhere in there that's going to be the magic number. Now, what that's going to be for Kyle versus Andrew, there could be a little bit of variation. And I say this too, because when you're younger, especially younger, you train with someone else, right? And usually the more experienced guy's leading the workout, and you might find, hey, this works perfect for me. Or you might find like, I feel like I'm lacking. I'm not very sore the next day. Or you might find that you're just torn the F up, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's, as you get older, you learn how to differentiate the kind of volume that you need. And then to take that further, that changes with time. I could tell you from, just an age standpoint, what I can handle at 20 versus what I can handle at 40, it's a little bit different, And that's with paying a lot more attention to recovery these days, with actually like using modalities, using mobility, stretching, red light therapy, ice cold, all those different things. So I think to roundabout way to answer your question, I think you need to experiment with several different techniques. And I think you need to truly analyze your recovery and also your growth, and then come up with what system is going to work best for yourself.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And one thing I wanted to bring up also, like as you touched on when I was younger, one thing when I would train with a lot of clients, I had the fortunate ability to train with Phil, right? And for those of you that don't know, Phil Vizzacaro, he can train. He's very good with training. And when I was doing legs with him, the reality is, looking back, the volume was a fuck ton. The intensity was very high. That you can't just start doing. Anyone that would try to train with us would not be able to. And it's something you build up to over time. So again, progressive overload is the unspoken kind of thing we keep referring back to, right?
Yeah. Here's what I was going to say, because you could look at progressive overload in the way that, say, Dante Trudell of DC Training would explain it, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to lift at least 2.5 more pounds for the same amount of reps that you did last week, you're gonna beat those numbers by some margin, or you're gonna use that same weight and you're gonna get one more rep, right? That's one way to look at it. But I think, and as my training knowledge has expanded, I look at progressive overload as not just the mass on the bar, but the tension and the overall work being done on the tissue. Meaning, okay, maybe last week I did straight sets. I did 3 hard working sets on something for 8. I went to failure on all of them. Okay. And then this week I did 2 hard working sets of 8. And then I did my 3rd set with 8, but I turned it into a drop set to where a partner also assisted me to the point where I was just barely moving my legs. Right. So there's some progressive overload going on there in terms of volume, damage to the muscle tissue. And there's going to cause there's going to be an adaptation caused as a result of that.
Yeah. I think the time under tension, the speed of the rep,
bingo,
the more force you're using, right? If we're doing a set and I'm exploding every rep, that's much different from me being cutesy and going slow at my tempo. So these are all things that, again, at the end of the day, stay consistent to whatever you're doing for at least 6 to 8 weeks minimum. Do the same movement patterns, the same intensifiers if you're using them, and then be objective. Am I getting better? Do my joints fucking hurt?
Yeah.
Right. If your joints are hurting, you're not getting any better. Good indicator you should probably do something different. Right. You're not going the right direction. So yeah.
It kind of, and you probably can relate to this. I know, let's say we're talking about a hack squat, right? And, I just came off of a little recovery deload phase and maybe I'm starting my cycle, right? And I'm really trying to get my hack squat up. And over week 1, my reps are 100% textbook, clean, perfect with like 6 plates. And every week I'm adding 20 to 40 pounds, total to that bar so that by week 8 or 10, I'm at 10 plates aside. Now, I'll be the first to say my reps probably don't look exactly the same as they did on that week 1, right? Now, am I making progress or am I not making progress? I'm definitely making progress, but I think that's a point where you say, okay, I've got the 10 plates for 10 reps on that particular exercise. I do my next deload. Now I'm going to start back a little lower, clean my reps up again, or maybe even do it while you're still in that same blast. You clean those reps up, establish a new consistency for rep speed and rep cadence, and then you start working up from there again. Because, and I'm not saying I ever train like, say Branch Warren, don't disrespect to how he trained, but I think that's just a little too ballistic for the majority of bodybuilders out there, right? Yeah. It worked for him though. It worked for him and Johnny Jackson, some of the other guys in that gym. But I do think having a set point, and it's okay to kind of push a little bit beyond that as long as the reps aren't straight ugly, but then having the confidence to say, I'm going to reestablish perfect form again with these new higher numbers and keep trying to push back up.
Perfect. This one is Pfizer B Fitness, insulin resistance and how to fix it.
Where do we start?
Let's just say, I think, from a lab work standpoint, right, we see fasted insulin. It's a good measure just to start with. That's double digits, right? So north of 10, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, you see that, high level. What are your thought process? What are your processes?
Just straight to Retta. No, there's a million steps we could take before we add another compound in, right? Like, first off, are we doing any cardiovascular work? Are we getting only 2,000 steps in a day? Are we moving enough, especially after meals? I'll start with that. Just getting some movement, especially after your meals, is a great way to protect insulin sensitivity. And instead of taking them all, I'm going to let you say one now.
For sure. No, I think that's first thing to start with. Look at from a cardiovascular standpoint, assuming they're doing that, right? Maybe we start to look at the diet and say, okay, are they just having carbohydrates every single meal, right? Ask the pancreas to pump that shit out. Probably going to be a problem as well, right? So maybe we'll clean up the diet. Now let's just say you've done both of those, having a hard time, it's not thyroid related or anything like that. From a pharmacology standpoint, right? You could use, there's a lot of routes you can go, right? You have those that lean on metformin, stuff like that, putting in maybe with the last meal before bed. You have people that are using this thing called Retatrutide or something like that. That seems to be improving things. You also have some other peptides that are helping mitochondrial health and things like that. Yeah. So I think that's the process to go through: cardio, optimize nutrition, check lab work first, right? Because that's how you're going to identify, like, you truly have insulin resistance first. You just look fat. Yeah. You're fat.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to, before going to the Reta and the other Like I'll probably throw berberine first,
Yeah, yeah, that's good
which
too.
honestly, I keep berberine in almost everybody's plans anyway, because it's one of those supplements that has, it's multifactorial in the sense that it does a lot of, insulin sensitivity, antimicrobial. So if you have some GI issues, it can be helping to kill some overgrowth. And there's a small imparted benefit on HDL cholesterol. Okay. So it's a great supplement just to keep in, anti-aging, etc. But even before moving on to like your pharmaceuticals, like, metformin or glucophage and the retatrutide and the GLPs, I would also make sure I looked at what's going on with cortisol. And
Mhm.
are you someone that is under like a ton of stress?
Yeah.
And maybe you're in a prep and you're going through a divorce, and your bosses have you, staying at work late, you're under some crunch, and you got kids' child support payments that are piling up. You have a lot of stress, is what I'm trying to say. And you're just kind of living in this state of constant anxiety and stress. you know, Stress causes cortisol to go up. Cortisol causes the liver to constantly dump glucose. So is that causing you to cause your pancreas to release more insulin, causing that insulin insufficiency? That I would kind of go that route first, because I think in today's world, everybody's anxious. I'm just seeing it more and more and more. And I think it's because of social media. I think it's because of the news. I think it's because we don't stay in our own lanes and just kind of focus on our lives. I think it's a big factor. Do what you can to remove stress. I say, and how to fix that, right? If you're not in a prep situation and you got time, my move is to, hey, let's take a 2-week deload. We're going to train maybe 4 to 5 times total in 2 weeks at a 70% intensity. I'm going to lower body's protein. I'm going to definitely add in some supplements like a GDA. I'm probably going to pull carbs and go with a more of a Mediterranean type diet, a lot more healthy fats, low inflammation. And I'm going to support with other supplements to help control cortisol, typically.
No, I think that's a fantastic point, Rex. I'm already assuming that maybe based on lab work, we've identified that, but that's a whole nother route to go, right? I think observing your lifestyle habits, and I try to hammer that home with a lot of people because again, just because something worked for you when you're younger, as you get a little older, the responsibilities are different, your bodies are different. If you have high chronic stress and it's not managed, that is going to lead to, low grade chronic inflammation, which leads to many dysbiosis in the body, right? So
Yep.
your body doesn't process things the correct way. You're not metabolizing things the correct way. So as far as identifying stress, guys, on lab work, you have cortisol, which you can look at that waking number. And then to go even a step further, something like a Dutch test, that's going to be very important to really see what's going on. So that would be the route to go. But again, it comes from when the client comes to you, Andrew, or comes to me, right? It's up to them to kind of say, hey, this is my life. This is what's going on. If you're hiding and say, hey, everything, Andrew, I sleep 8 hours a night, even though I know I sleep 3, right? I just can't get lab work or something like that. Because these cases come up sometimes where someone's
Yeah.
like, hey, I can't do these things, but life is great. There's no stress. And then you find out there's a lot. Huge pet peeve, right? It's like, man, what the hell are we doing? Like, you kind of bullshitted me the whole time.
Help us help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Why don't we bang out like 2 more, then we'll do some physique critiques?
Yes. Sounds good. Who's up? You or me?
Thank you.
Um, Here's one. This is from Nick_Stokes 10. Thoughts on Humalog versus Lantus in off-season settings. Is there a set time limit you like to run them?
Okay, so I don't have any rules about anything other than just don't use DMP. So that's my only rule with bodybuilding typically. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the one drug probably out of all, and don't over diuretic anyone. Those are like my 2 rules
No knows.
for coaching. I love insulin. Insulin made me a bodybuilder. If it weren't for insulin and GH, I would probably be doing swimming or water polo or something like that. Right. So, applications, right? Let's say you got a guy who has already been eating a lot into his prep, right? And you want to get him to grow because he needs to eat more to grow. And so he's already in a pretty well-fed state. You don't have a lot of room to go before, dude, I just can't eat anymore. I'm stuffed, or I'm going to hurt my insulin sensitivity. So I think in that move, you can go a couple different directions. You can throw in a Lantus product, where do you start? I can't give magic numbers, but if someone's say starting to creep up to like 92 on their blood sugar, I might say, okay, let's throw in 20 units of Lantus before bed and let's keep tracking your blood sugar and we'll go from there. Now, some people do better with taking Lantus first thing in the morning. So I'm not completely set in my ways of, hey, you have to take it then. Let's try something one way. And I think you pointed out, in terms of prepping people, you might mess up once, but you learn from that mistake and you're not going to get it wrong the second time. So I'm the same way. We'll try something. If it's not working, I'm completely fine changing direction. So that's kind of what I do with Lantus. How about you?
So Atlantis, the practical use would be because it's a longer acting, right? It makes it a little easier on the body rather than the fast acting. And he used Humalog as an example. There's different logs, but Humalog I'll use more so to really amplify that specific meal, right? I'm going to make sure generally I'm not putting a lot of fats with that meal because insulin doesn't decipher and say, ooh, fat, I won't take you, right? It's just taking you. So don't take insulin and go eat McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's, whatever three you like, even though there's more. But that's how I kind of use the Humalog, right? I'll use it
Same.
in certain facets, maybe walking into the gym, right? You can use it post-workout if you notice your glucose levels are high, or in between meals, you're not coming back down to a baseline. But yeah, you can start with the Lantus, small amount. Again, I don't want to give people dosages per se, just because someone that's 140 pounds versus 250 pounds is quite a difference. And 140 is crazy. Don't use insulin if you're 140. But yeah, I think that's the route I would go, for sure.
Do you use insulin with your females?
No, I can't speak to that, man.
So I do because
I think when I had in the past, I had one Physique
Okay.
female. It was the only time I've ever used it, and honestly, more so they had issues. It was just more trying to fix things.
I do it a lot because, well, we're talking about PEDs. It's not a
Yeah.
steroid. There's no risk of virilization. The risk is, like you said, they're 140 pounds or less, and the dosage probably needs to be a lot less. And I'll say this as a general rule to anybody considering using insulin, especially the rapids like Humalog, Fios, Bapedra, etc. Make sure you understand what a unit is, what 2 units is, what 5 units is, because every coach gets that nightmare text of like, hey, coach, I took that 5 units, but I feel like shit, I'm going to fall over. I can't even see straight right now. And you're like, well, take a picture of what you on the needle where you took it, and you find out they took 50 units. So I don't know about you, but I just take a picture now of a needle and I point right to like where they need to draw up to.
I always just, hey, before you do this, send me a picture of exactly what you would be using.
Yeah.
And 7 times out of 10, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Scary.
All right, this one's a quick fun one. Dan Ryan _fit. Favorite gym you've ever trained at?
Iron Revolution, my home gym here in New Jersey. Aside from that one, favorite gym I really trained at. I kind of go by state, honestly. So
yeah,
in Long Island, there's a gym, ProFit. I really like that gym. Bevs is Bevs. That's nostalgic. If you've ever been there, I would definitely try that. Down in Texas, I had the ability to go to an absolute recomp. That was
great.
Great equipment. And then also in Texas and Houston is goddamn blank.
Destination or
no,
Metro?
that's in Dallas. In Houston, it's Roman Empire. That gym is fantastic. If you haven't got to go there, if you're in Houston, definitely go to that.
Okay.
And where was I recently? There was a cool gym I was at. Where was Kyle recently?
You're down here in Tampa.
Before Tampa. In Vegas, that New Tech gym was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like that. It was like a playground for equipment, all different brands. I really like gyms sometimes when they have the best equipment and you have a variety to pick from, right?
Of course.
So something like that's like super important to me. But those are like the gyms that really come to mind that stick out. And I'm just like, I can see myself training here and making a shit ton of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very unlucky coming up because my main gym was a health club. There was no like gyms really, so whenever we got to go on the road to like, one of my favorite gyms was in Connecticut, Montanari Brothers Gym. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's, Evan trained there, Chris trained there. A lot of good pros come out of that gym and just a lot of strong guys in general. You might think you're a strong bodybuilder, but then you look over and there's some power lifter doing like 8-plate squats for 6 and you're just like in awe, That's a great gym. I got to agree with you about the absolute recomp. The only thing I hate about it is that it's so freaking busy that at least the times that, if we're going around nationals and around the Texas Pro, you go in there. Though I got to say, it's not all competitors. There seem to be like hundreds of people that are just fit working out, but their variety of the Panada, and some of the other equipment is definitely next level. And then, I definitely like our gym here at MI40. It's a great spot. It's really hard to say favorite gym because,
Yeah.
like you said, like break it down by state. Maybe it's like, you know, there's a lot of great gyms, and they're opening up more and more every day. Everyone's getting involved in gyms these
Yeah, I think
days.
the main thing with gyms, you either have the modern gym, like an absolute recomp, right? More
Yep.
modern vibe,
Yep.
or you have like a traditional dungeon, old school Destination Dallas, the Metroflex, shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One more last question.
Yeah. Why not?
I have from Nick_Bajinski. Old school, parenthesis, Meadows, for example, Meadows training versus new school training methods. Do each have their place? And this message cut off, or we just like stop writing?
I think they cut off because it only allows a certain amount.
Oh,
So,
yes, I guess I'm anticipating you meant to say, do each have their place and when would you use them?
okay. So this is a good question. I can give at least my take on it. Yeah, they obviously all have their take as long as it's not one of these, cookie cutter, Instafluencer, not don't work hard programs, basically. I think effort trumps everything, even if you're doing things wrong. Even if you're doing too much volume, you're doing too little volume. If your effort's through the roof, I think that's the main factor. But what I used to love doing was following more of a, DC training, modified, push-pull leg split in the off seasons. And then for contest prep or about 20 weeks out, I'd switch over to one of John's mountain dog programs and ride that into the show. And I think I like to do that because one, it's nice having your mentor who wrote that program telling you what to do every day. Like you don't really need to think that much. It's like, if it worked for John and he thought it was hard, then it's going to work for me,
Yeah.
But then in the off season where I'll say I take the pace a little bit slower, I'm getting a little bit stronger. I really liked doing more of a rest pause, lower volume, especially for upper body, is where I found best results. How about you?
I would say, yeah, the one thing I think John was like a pioneer, right? And especially as he kind of caught on to the periodization and a lot of his, the more recent programs that he created focused on blocks, right? Maybe the first 4 weeks you have 2 to 3 back days, for example, and then weeks 5 through 8, the different body part, things like that. Because the reality is most of us have to bring up all their body parts, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You can't just say, hey, I'm going to hammer legs, chest, and back for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You're better off saying, you know what? I have a cup of water and I can only pour so much into each body part. For the next month, I'm going to focus on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put half the cup of water in here.
Yep.
This is going to be more of a maintenance thing. So that's my take on it. So I really like that. The DC training, I think that teaches you, again, assuming you train with intensity, it can appear to be low volume. So when I reference that to some younger fellas, so they say, oh, that's just not enough volume. And it's like, I don't think you know what a Widowmaker is. I don't think you understand. So when you don't train with the effort or intensity, or you don't have something to show you, one step might not seem like a lot. So I think both have their place. I highly encourage people when you're younger, get strong. Look at the DC training methods. You don't have to focus on things like RP strength training, which I think has I sometimes tell people, honestly, take the Meadows program, put it into RP and kind of use it like that because it's helpful for you. Because the thing is, because we didn't have the technology 10 years ago, right? When John was making the programs, you should log what you're doing, but most of the time it's like 4 sets of 8. Next week is 3 sets of 10. Did you actually write down what you were doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to point out, or I just want to share something real quick. See if I do this right. Oh, no, wrong share. Hold on. Oh, there's a dog.
Oh, no, you hear Bam.
All right, I just wanted to share my client Nathan. So Nathan was training as a, like traditional bodybuilding split, bro split. And I think I picked him up maybe 2.5 months ago. He's a good kid, goes to my gym. And I didn't put the weight on there. He's up. I really just focused on the basics and I put him on the original DC training program. And for anyone that knows what it is, it's literally you're training 3 days a week and you have basically an upper body and a lower body day. And you're just alternating those on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, right? So it's so simple. You look at it on paper and you're like 1 set per exercise and you're only doing 1 exercise for chest on Monday and then 1 exercise for chest on Wednesday, right? And this kid's only 20 years old, right? And at this point, he was up 27 pounds and despite the lack of volume with his training, we just kept adding calories every 2 weeks. Like his food has almost doubled. And what is he by now? Actually, he's up 35 pounds. So it's been a couple weeks since then. And what I'm saying is, when you're younger, I really think the DC training is a good foundational program for you, because you really learn how to train hard. You really learn how to harness and bring it to absolute failure, especially like you mentioned, those Widowmaker sets. Like, that teaches you if you really like bodybuilding or not, right? Like you'll know if you're cut out for this stuff if you can make it through several months of Widowmakers, of taking your squat from 315 for 20 reps to 405 for 20 reps. So I just wanted to share that real quick.
What was his name?
Nathan Rose. He's a 20 or 21 years old. He works at MI40, among some other.
Good job, Nathan.
All right, so let's do some physique critiques. You ready?
I hope so. I hope we have some good ones.
I think we do. All right, so this is Damian Ginnick. I hope I don't pronounce that wrong. Sorry, Damian, if I do. He's 5'8", 228 pounds. He competes in open. What do you got?
Give me a glimpse of all the pictures first.
All right, let me shut this down. Boom. And then here's his. I didn't get a rear double bicep out of him.
That's okay.
Before you speak, let me say, guys, this is a good, appropriate angle to take pictures. We've got his full body in the shot. Just make sure you get us a rear double. And if I didn't see it, I'm sorry if I'm ragging on you, Damien. I thought I copied all your pictures, but so yeah, 5'8", 228. He's in the off season. What do you think?
My first critique is pretty balanced. I think from the top to the bottom, right? I don't really see, like, usually you don't see this type of physique, I think, especially when you went to the side. I saw his hamstring hanging. I was like, wow, pretty impressive. I like the side shot. I think his arms are in a good spot. His delts could use a little bit more size. I think the body part the most I'd probably focus on, probably his back. At least I know I don't have like a rear lat spread or anything, but I just look at his back, gets the body work done. You can kind of see, work on your erectors. Those last a little bit more. Upper back looks okay in his rhomboids, but that would be my take there. What do you think? What is first thing you think when you see these pictures?
Well, I'm double checking right now to make sure I didn't miss
Any pictures?
Yeah, I just want to double check, because he uploaded a couple front doubles, I believe. So I think maybe he meant to put a rear double up, but he didn't. So,
okay.
Yeah, I have all of his pictures up here. Yeah, I think he's got a very pleasing physique. I think he's structurally very sound.
Yeah.
I said, he's 5'8", 228. So in shape, he's probably a light heavyweight. He's going to need to grow into be a heavyweight, to make it to the top of the NPC and then the pro leagues, obviously. But did I get his age? Let me double check and see if we got his age. Yeah, no age, unfortunately. But he looks like a young guy. He's probably in his young to mid 20s. I think he's doing a lot of the right things. I would agree with you, though. His back needs to come up. That's just based off the rear relaxed. That's honestly the only semi-weakness I can see right now.
Yeah, I think the rest of how you're training, just keep training. Like I said, I reference what we said a little earlier in the podcast, where you prioritize different body parts, right? That way you continue to bring everything up uniformly.
Mm-hmm. I like his that chest and his right pec and that side chest. Like, you could tell as that continues to grow, that's just going to be a big ripped striated mass in his side chest.
Yeah.
Kid even has some forearms on him.
For sure.
Yeah, that's rare. We all use too many straps. Do you use straps with back training?
Hell yeah, I use straps.
Do you? I've gotten away from it this year because,
really?
Well, I had such bad tendonitis in the spring, and I was doing. Are you familiar with gua sha?
Oh.
It's called gua sha. It's basically like, a scraping technique where you take out a butter knife and some oil and you scrape, all the tissue and everything. They sell those little tools online, but I just use a butter knife. Because I'm cheap. And it's like, if I want to do something, I'm like, I'm not going to wait till Amazon sends me the thing. I'm going to start doing it now. And then, but yeah, you can like scrape different body parts. It's kind of like Graston, I guess, most similar. Yeah. I was doing that. I do you have are you familiar with voodoo flossing?
No.
It's basically like, it's like a band made out of like rubber that's like real thin, kind of like like the inside tubing of a tire. So it's like that thin.
Okay.
And then you wrap it around the joint real hard, real tight. And then you do all sorts of different movements. You hang.
I've seen people doing it. Yes.
You've
I
seen
didn't
it.
know what they were called, those bands. I call them like mobility bands, but it's probably the same
Bingo.
thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I do different movements for that, for knees and for elbows. Guys, these are the things you get to look forward to when you get to be 35 plus. But yeah, no, I the best thing that's helped is switching away from using straps. I haven't used straps for anything except for a very heavy dumbbell row in the last 6 months, and it's
You use chalk or anything?
no, actually. You know the other thing I found is that by using the straps, my grip was getting so weak. Like picking up a 35-pound dumbbell, I'd be like limp wristing it. Like,
Yeah, I think sometimes when people use straps, they like literally don't squeeze the bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I found myself doing, I would use a lot of figure eight straps. Eddie Hall had these figure eight straps. So when I was deadlifting really heavy, at some point, I mean, you could literally let go of the bar and you're attached to that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And, like your hand's going with it. But I think using straps, again, I find it to be practical. Most people's grip strength is going to die unless you train it. You're an arm wrestler. But like, squeeze as hard as you can. All right. Don't just think the strap is going to do the work, because then, like you said, you could run into some issues and
got that limp wrist,
All right.
All right. We got one more critique for the day. Let's get rid of this one. This is Charles Winters. So Charles is 6'3". He is 227 pounds. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just pull this up to make double check. We didn't put it here, but I believe he messaged you and said that he was at this point 18 days out from a show, right?
I think his first show. Yes.
His first show. Okay. Let me also say, I'm a stickler for pictures. I don't know if you are with your clients, but like if someone sends me this, I'm like, all right, this is the last time I'm accepting them like this. I need to see your full body from head to toe, because my posing tweaks, everything starts with the feet, right?
Yep.
Like if your feet are pointed all the way out, to 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and your hamstrings look weird and your quad sweeps look wacky, like I need to see what's going on down there so I can program and tell you what to do properly up top. So, and then I want to see your elbows, man. I just want to see the full physique. So my advice to him would be to step forward as far as you can and move the camera back a little bit. I wouldn't be as annoyed about not having a backdrop. Everyone's doing all the backdrops these days, which is totally cool. But it's like I want to just see the whole physique in the picture. But anyway, what do you have to say about Charles at this point? He's 18, probably 16 days out now.
So my first thought process, I look at the lower half, right? And I see some ass cheeks. I don't see a lot of lines. And I can't say it's because of lighting, right? So I'd say conditioning standpoint, definitely not where I would want someone to be. Now, again, I don't know if you said first show ever, right? Versus first show of the season or something like that. I'm a little bit more gracious with first show ever for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of with only 16 days remaining, this is where, again, from a diet perspective, you're pushing hard. This is it. Push pretty fucking hard. If you had the ability to push the show back 3 weeks, I think you'd be perfectly fine. If you said, hey, I'm 5 weeks out here, I'd say, okay, we have some work to do, but we can do it. 2 weeks to go, all you can do is really just push yourself hard the next 10 days. And then you kind of have to start to pull back a little bit, right?
Yeah. So if I was coaching Charles and we were working together, first off, I would have had an honest conversation probably 3 to 4 weeks prior saying, hey, things aren't shaping up as quick as we want them to. And honestly, a good coach is going to do that, right? Like we don't nail it every single time. Like sometimes we're trying things, people's lives are stressful. That might be slowing down the progress. You have an honest conversation. You say, hey, do we need to probably take a week to pull back so you can regenerate some energy, some strength, just get some life back to you? Let's look at a show that's maybe, like you said, 3 to 4 weeks after the one we originally planned, even if you got to travel out of state, because the end goal is to bring your best look to stage the season, right? Like it's not just to get on stage and do a show. It's to make sure that we're presenting you in the best possible way you can. So then you have a body of work to look at when you compete the next time to see how much you improved. So I would agree with you. The conditioning is going to be an issue. Now, let me ask you a question though. In your opinion, let's say now the show's in 16 days. That's what I got to do because of Work is sending me to somewhere for a month-long training. I can't compete. How much progress do you think can be made, and what would you do? Let's just pretend he's on a very, very, like he's on 50 grams of carbs a day, doing 60 minutes of cardio. We don't have that info. I'm just throwing a scenario out that might be possible.
If he's at 50 grams of carbs, I mean, I'm bringing that shit probably pretty low. You know, I'm bringing it down to 0, maybe 25 grams before training.
Yeah.
Cardio wise, I'm gonna bump it. You know, if he's only
Yeah.
at 60,
Yeah.
if you had said 2.5 hours, I would say, okay, I don't know how much 30 more minutes is going to do. He's at 60, I'd add in at least another 30-minute session. And then, you know, consider your activity levels. If you literally are someone that just does, and I've had people like this, they do cardio, train, and all at once, that's it. And then the rest of the day they sit on the couch. I'd say, hey, just walk after meals. I don't call them digestive walks. Just fucking move. Okay.
Yeah.
Do whatever you got to do. But that's what I would do. I mean, so if I present you with the same scenario, I'm at 50 grams of carbs, a little bit behind. I only do an hour of cardio. Where are you going?
Today we're going to 120 minutes cardio. You're doing 60 fasted. You're doing 60 before bed. Your carbs are going to 0. Your fats are probably going to 0. Okay, and understanding that might be the wrong move, right? Like maybe he's been on that 50 grams of carbs for too long and hasn't had a refeed. But if he just came to me today and said, hey, fix me to make me look the best I could in the next 2 weeks, my first move is, okay, I'm going to push your ass for like the next 3 days to see what happens. And then I'm probably going to incorporate a refeed and then start that process over again. I'm probably going to max out stims. I'm going to max out all of our fat burning. You know, if you're not using your Himbine, we're throwing that in. If you're not using Clen, we're definitely bumping that to the roof. And then like you pointed out, and I don't even put a step goal in these situations. I just say, when you are not doing something that's work or training related, I want you moving. Like, I'm okay with you becoming a zombie for at least the next 10 days. And then I'm going to save us 6 days to pull down off that cardio. So, and I say that because I've done it, you know, I've been in a situation where I was maybe not this far behind, but I was a little behind from my normal conditioning. And it was like, okay, 2.5 hours of cardio. I'm going to go for 3 20-minute walks on top of my normal steps. So I didn't count the steps in those walks. And I'm just going to move all day. You know, one of Meadows' things he had me do was, okay, you get done all that shit for the day. Before you go to bed, once you get on your cardio piece, and just move until you feel like you're literally going to fall over and pass out, take a quick shower and just go right to bed.
I was going to say a little trick. Let's just say someone doesn't want to use T3, or maybe it's in already at a higher dose. I'll throw in like some HIIT cardio, potentially before the last meal or even before bed, to where I don't think anyone looks forward. When I say HIIT, I'm talking true HIIT. All right, get your ass a spin bike. Fucking stand up, crank the resistance 15 seconds, like hard, 45 seconds slow, do 7 to 10 bouts of that. That's going to definitely rip you through that last meal and into, you know, a good state to go to sleep in. So that's something I'll do, you know, if I don't want to use T3, or maybe they're already using it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Let me know about what you think about this, because this is something I use in extreme fat loss situations where people we're behind the 8 ball. Is I'll do like a 10-minute HIIT session or something like that, and then I'll have them do like another 45 minutes of steady state after that, with the idea being we're liberating a lot of energy, we're liberating a lot of fatty acids. Now we're going to lower the heart rate a little bit and be in a position to absolutely use those fatty acids. And I find it works pretty well.
Yeah, I like doing cardio that way. A lot of people that work with me will always say that most of my cardio sessions, ideally, in a perfect world, the perfect client, which rarely exists, they're going to work on a small body, a muscle group, like maybe abdominals or maybe glutes, something like that, prior to cardio. And then I'll start with an interval-based cardio of some sort. Maybe not true HIIT, in some cases HIIT, but maybe it's just 1 minute hard, 1 minute slow, maybe 30 seconds, 90 seconds, something like that, for a short period of time, 10 to 15 minutes, to really get the heart rate up, and then go into your low-intensity steady state. Because how many times, if you just go walking, the first 15, 20 minutes is like not doing anything, no sweat, your heart rate's like 105. To me, that's not doing shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And this is a tip for coaches too. I don't know if you use this, but if like I have someone programmed doing cardio and the diet should be locked in, and the normal changes aren't happening, I'm like, all right, set your phone up for 5 minutes, watching you do these intervals. If we're programming intervals or we're programming HIIT, let me see what that looks like for you. And then that way I can say, okay, you showed me that you can do it. Now this is what it needs to be for that full 10 minutes, or this is what it needs to be for that full 45 minutes. Or if they're not doing it hard enough, I say, no. And I send them a video of one of my other clients that is doing it the way I want it done. So they have a reference, and at least I've given that information of like, this is what it takes. Because I don't know if you've ever seen this, where you got someone programmed to do cardio, And then you walk into the gym, they go to your gym and you look over and they're on like an elliptical and it's like,
Yeah, molasses.
dude, and I'm like, what are you doing? You warming up? And they're like, oh no, I'm on my last minute of cardio. I'm like, you haven't even started yet, buddy. We need
You
to
need
turn it
to
up.
the ones that approach cardio like they do a workout, assuming they work out, I think always look a certain way. I think back to Mike Charles. I like to use him as a
Yeah.
reference. He trains his fucking balls off. He would do cardio and like sweat his ass off like
Yeah.
instantly, 10 minutes in. It's not because
Yeah.
he's bundled up. It's because he's working hard, right?
Yeah.
When he's on the stepper, a lot of people are like, oh, like level 5, 6 is hard. I used to run up that bitch. Like,
Yeah.
and I was a fat kid and I could still move. So I'd look at cardio, take it seriously like you do a workout. That's why I always like spacing it out, because if I work out really hard,
Yes.
I'm not thinking of doing cardio after. Or if I start to think of it and I have an exercise left, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, bullshit this last exercise,
Yeah. Well, I would just think of it logically. Like, and that's why, again, why we like to have multiple times during the day where you're burning calories, cardio in the morning, training in the afternoon. And if we don't want to have people doing cardio after training, like we're dipping into some recovery there. That's a last ditch effort, or that's okay, we're running out of time type technique where we got to get this in. It's probably something about you New Jersey guys, New Jersey, Pennsylvania guys, like, because I remember watching like Sean Corrida do cardio. Dude was sweating bullets like 5 minutes into it,
Yeah.
and I know he trained with Mike Charles for a while too. So there is something to be said about where people are from and maybe the mentality, because they got to see their peers and people they looked up to. But before we leave, I want to just ask you, because we didn't actually give him a critique other than conditioning.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Let's talk about, because I do like his classic shot. I think he's got a lot going for him here in terms of how he's posing. Like, he's a decent poser already, at least in this shot. Just needs a little bit more tissue, and maybe he's just super flat because he's already been doing the things we're talking about.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think obviously if he puts more tissue on his legs, I think in that pose there, his right leg, he definitely can flex that quad a bit more. But he just needs more tissue. I think his frame is perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with his frame. You need a nice tan, my boy. Get a tan, and then you'll look even better. But push yourself. Let us know how the next 16 days go. If you're working with a coach, tell him just push the envelope a bit. Let's see what you can do, and then I'd be interested to see. You said you're 227 here. What you can rip off in 16 days.
Yeah, good frame. Just probably needs to be at this conditioning like 245, and then cutting down to be 230 on stage, 228 on stage.
Yeah, because he's taller too. He's 6'3".
He's a tall guy. Yeah. So, and I'll tell you from experience, bro, it's just going to take you a while. You might do measurements on your legs and they probably beat some of your buddies that are 5'4", but unfortunately on us longer limbed creatures, they just look smaller.
Yeah.
So
the one thing I wanted to say, sorry not to cut you off. I'm saying this so people hold us accountable. I think next podcast we should the proper check-in, how that looks from a picture standpoint. I think that'll really help a lot of people, because there are some people that have great physiques and they take dog shit check-ins. Okay. Like really bad. And sometimes they're discouraged. They're like, oh, I look horrible. And I'm just like, yeah, well, your lighting is really not favorable. And then that same physique and the proper lighting, totally different. And then the reality is the reason I'm bringing it up is I know a lot of people are looking to get into coaching, or maybe there are coaches that listen to this. Those things matter, right? Consistent check-ins are super helpful, especially if Andrew's giving me, I'm a client, hey Kyle, where's your pictures on Friday? I want to do a little refeed, you're flat. And then I send you a different location on Saturday and Sunday. You're just like, hey, collecting the data, you kind of fucked me up here, because I wanted to see how it looked, not just your weight. No?
Yeah. I think the worst thing as a coach is when someone takes like a mirror selfie and then just send you a weight number, right? And you're like, But this is my number one pin post that I have. And honestly, I've had probably 300 coaches over the years send me like, hey, dude, can I steal this? I'm sending clients to take a screenshot of this, or they just tag me in it and put it in their stories. This is the setup I like for my pictures. Now I had to cut my head off. This picture was a little bit taller, but for me to fit my writing here to say where the ring light is, it's 8 to 9 feet away, camera set at waist level, lights off behind you. That's a big one. Have all the lights off behind you. And then I think I made this famous back in 2015 when I started putting the remote in my mouth, and I, instead of having to like click it or time it, I know other people like to make a video, I'm usually behind on the times with my iPhones. So I don't ever have the best, nicest one. So the pictures tend to come out with a little bit better detail. But yeah, people can just go to my Instagram and check this out. And it,
Cool.
like I said, a lot of other coaches send this to their athletes. But what do you got going on this weekend?
Small birthday party for a youngin, and then it's really about it. I'm looking to have a nice drama-free weekend. And Halloween. Tomorrow's Halloween, man. Trick or treat. I don't know about you. Of
Are you dressing up?
course I'm dressing up.
What are you gonna be?
Guess we'll find out tomorrow.
I was just gonna say something funny, but I'm not. Um,
No.
yeah, no, I forgot it's Halloween. Hey, have you ever eaten so much candy that you like made yourself sick?
Yeah, for sure. Back in my heyday, aka
Yeah.
last year. No.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I would have. I think back. I mean, trick or treating is different now. Honestly, I think it depends on like the neighborhood you're in.
Yeah.
But for me, that was always like a really cool holiday because I would get my pillow sack. As soon as school's out, I'm going to houses. That way I can hit them again at night, stuff like that, And then whenever I saw the please take one, I'll be honest, I was not the good one.
You took two.
Oh, hell yeah, I took more. Is that end of the night and it says please take one?
Yeah. Is that how you ended up with your starting picks from
No,
the
that's
show
not
last
how
week?
I ended up with the starting picks. I ate hot dogs and fucking kibasi and shit, okay?
Yeah. One time we just bought a condo up in Vermont, like maybe 15 years ago. And it's the first year we lived in a development with like 80 houses, a lot of kids and stuff. And we'd put the lights on and put, candy and stuff. And we bought, I think, 5 bags of Twix and Reese's peanut butter cups and something else. And I don't eat candy. Like I don't like any of this shit until I put one piece in my mouth, right?
Yeah, so
Dude, I ate 5 bags. Like, I should say she probably had like half a bag and I had 4.5 bags. It had to have been 20,000 calories in 3 hours.
what
And
candy is your guilty pleasure?
in this case, it was those Twix, Reese's peanut butter cups, and maybe like a Snickers or something like that. I honestly don't even like candy. Like, I don't even like junk food, but until like you eat it and then you're like, it hits something in your brain, especially when you don't get it. And it just like, oh, I'm gonna eat another one. And so, dude, we shut the lights off. We didn't give a single piece of candy out to the kids.
You know what's funny? It reminded me. I don't think he'll care to say this, but William Bonac, love the guy, super nice. He was backstage. I think it was before like finals, probably eating some Reese's peanut butter cups. So
It works for William.
yeah, Reese's. Those are my thing.
They're your thing. Yeah. it's your
Yeah,
favorite.
for sure. If you give me a candy, if I have to choose one,
Yeah.
that's what I'm choosing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a little different today than it was like 10, 15 years ago. I feel like the peanut butter just doesn't taste exactly the same, but maybe it's my taste buds changing.
I think you run your taste buds through this sport called bodybuilding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had a free meal the other night. First one in like 7 weeks. And it was, I think, 4 rolls of sashimi, mostly sashimi, and like a beef skewer. And like that was it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, we did the math and we're like, this was actually less calories than if I would have just had my chicken, rice, and salad meal.
Are you going to have a cheat meal on December 20th?
December 20th. Oh, is that your wedding?
Yeah.
I will eat what the groom eats.
I'm going to eat off plan that day.
I expect it.
Yes.
It's a day to celebrate. Absolutely.
It is.
And with that, guys, thanks for following along with us. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, send the podcast to your friend, post us in your stories. And with that, we're Unwracked.